Hey, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Mark O'Brien, Director at CM First Group. Thank you very much for making this practically a worldwide event for today's webinar, which is going to feature 2 customer talks covering some really cool applications for Plex and 2E or SYNON, respectively. And we're also going to gauge your opinions for the upcoming 12th user conference as well, too. Our first poll question is a pretty basic one. Are you interested more in CA2E, CA Plex, both, or neither? So 48% was Plex. A quarter are SYNON, as well as a quarter are both products, which is interesting. So there still are quite a few people out there that on this seminar who use both of the products, and then a few of you weren't sure why you were here. Anyway, want to move on to the 12th conference, and so we've got a couple of questions for you. Today's speakers are going to be myself, as you know, and then I'm going to introduce you to Roger Griffith, the user group president, who also works at a key Plex, cutting-edge Plex provider. Talk about a really cool communication system leveraging Plex. Then he'll be followed by Russell Berkeley, who's a senior person at ICS Courier and a 2E expert for several decades. And Russ is going to give us some wild and crazy tips and tricks on our 2E production applications. So we're planning the Worldwide User Conference. We're looking at doing it in the fall. The October 11 to 13 is being chosen. It's a Monday through a Wednesday. As in the past, when we've been in person, we do a first day as a lab day, so we've got Plex and 2E tracks, and then sometimes, depending on the sponsor, we may have a third lab track as well too. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be reserved for customer presentations, and usually we do a 2E track, a Plex track, and then a technology track as well too. So our question number 2 for our audience today is virtual, on-site, or hybrid. What you're thinking right now, and I do know that in the U.S., 25% of all adults have been vaccinated, have had at least one vaccination shot. I know that's not the case in Europe or in Latin America or in many of the other countries that are here. So my question to you is, should it be 100% virtual? Should it be hybrid, which would be a combination of virtual as well as doing things in person, or in person? Whoa. Well, strong feelings there of equally being virtual or a combination of virtual and in person. And 12%. Actually, that's more than we had a year ago for who wanted it in person. I think at that time, I think it was about 4% or something a year ago. Okay, so anyway, so we've got that going on, and thank you very much for your input on that too. So we'll continue up with that, and we may follow up and do other surveys too in the next quarter as things get a little bit closer. But now that we've said that it's either going to be online or in person, if it was a hybrid conference, so just think about whether you voted this or not. If it was going to be a hybrid conference, combination of in person and virtual, where should it be? So the reason why October 11th and 13th works, we've done this before. All the other conferences have had a lab day on Monday and then 2 full days of presentations. Austin is going to have an in-person ACL, Austin City Limits. We don't know how big the crowds are going to be right now, but in the past it's been over 100,000. However, it's over 2 weekends, and the second weekend ends on that. Actually, formally it ends on that Saturday night, on the night of the 9th. So there wouldn't be a problem getting hotel rooms that Sunday night because people are leaving town because ACL is over. The second weekend is over. Another popular place has been South Florida. Specifically, we've been looking at Miami and Lauderdale in the past. And then general, East Coast. I know West Coast has been Europeans and other people aren't liking that. And we're assuming that we're going to have, or somewhere else. So we're assuming that there'll be some form of travel, and things will get opened up. Right now, it looks like a substantial number of people in the U.S. are going to be vaccinated by early in the summer. So let's see our results, Mr. Poll Taker. Ooh, South Florida, East Coast, very popular. And I understand, Austin or somewhere else is only 19%, so about double. So anyway, people like that. And I know we didn't have Chicago. Chicago, unfortunately, hasn't done very well. But it would be in October. That's the idea. So some housekeeping here. Just to remind you, as you watch these presentations, or if you've got a question about the upcoming conference or an opinion that you want to put in there, just type it into the console, and we'll make sure that we cover those at the end of the presentation. Okay. So now at this point, I want to introduce Roger Griffith, the president of our worldwide community and software development director at Eaglesun Systems Products. Thank you, Roger. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
All right. I want to thank everyone for attending this today. We pretty much smashed the all-time record for number of people that are registered and attendees for this particular webinar. So that's tremendous. It's just great to have everyone on the call today. All right, so I'm going to be talking about some really cool technology that we have built with a significant amount of effort from CM First that allowed us to build this really cool email and SMS text messaging feature that we have integrated into our application. So what we're going to show you is how we have used this product called Twilio Sendgrid integrated into our Plex application to deliver some cutting-edge email and text messaging solutions from Plex. Most applications can send emails with no problem, but the question is how many can actually track the status of those email messages, whether or not it's been sent, delivered, has it been opened by the user, did they click on a hyperlink within the email message, and this type of thing. So basically, by using a third-party product called Twilio Sendgrid, we were able to develop some really cool cutting-edge email and text messaging capabilities into our application using Plex. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking, as well as Kiyoshi Terasawa, about this application that was built. It was a collaborative effort with CM First, with Eaglesun working as kind of an advisory role, and I think it's going to be of interest to many in this audience. So it's email and text messages from Plex on steroids. Okay, so let's first talk about some of the weaknesses that we currently have in just traditional email and text message options from Plex. Now, when I say that these are some of the weaknesses, it doesn't mean that they haven't been overcome, and many of you have developed your own custom solutions to overcome these, but there's typically a significant amount of development in this type of thing in overcoming some of these weaknesses, but let's just talk about them. So let's start with email messages from Plex. Traditionally, we're able to send email messages with no problem, but we lack a way of tracking the status of the email messages once it's been sent. So basically, your application sends the email and you just hope and assume that the email was delivered, but you have no way of knowing. Another weakness is you typically can't see the email message from your Plex application. So the email tends to sit kind of outside of your Plex application. They're typically not visible from within your application, so you would go over into Outlook, and there you can kind of see, you know, the messages that have been sent and this type of thing, which also means that it's difficult to be able to you know, query that information because it doesn't sit inside of your database within your application. Okay, another challenge that we have is that it's somewhat difficult to create email messages that are in rich text or HTML format, including graphics and this type of thing. That's not to say that it can't be done. It's just that, you know, a traditional email message is typically just plain text. Okay, it's also difficult to create email messages using predefined templates. So the concept of a template is something that we don't really have within, you know, the APIs that are available to us with Plex. So if you're doing something with templates, it's something that you've either developed yourself or sits outside of your Plex application. The other challenge is it's difficult to merge data from your tables within your Plex application into the subject and body of your email messages. So that's not to say it can't be overcome, but it typically takes, you know, a fair amount of development in order to create that concept of merging data via parameters into the email messages. So that's some of the weaknesses of email. And now let's talk a little bit about the weaknesses of text messages from Plex. The main weakness is that it really doesn't exist. Okay, we have a lack of APIs to send text messages from Plex, and I think the reason for that is text messaging really is something that kind of became popular after the pattern libraries were developed, which, you know, is back around the turn of the century. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the requirements that we have at Eaglesun Systems products where I work. So our application, it offered some basic email capabilities, pretty much, you know, just what gets the job done, but we needed something that was far more robust. So simply sending an email message and hoping it arrived was not acceptable, really for all the reasons that I mentioned on the previous slide. So what we did was we contracted with CM First, and they developed a new module that is integrated inside of our Plex application. This module that they developed, it integrates with a third-party product called Twilio Sendgrid, and it uses the Sendgrid APIs. So now that we have that, we've got a very modern email and SMS framework that is built into our application that allows our application to effectively communicate with the customers that use the application. So it's really kind of a comprehensive solution of being able to do bulk emails to the customers. When I say bulk, we're talking, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of emails that potentially are being sent at one time to the users of the application. So as I mentioned, it uses the Twilio Sendgrid APIs to deliver a true state-of-the-art email and SMS solution from our Plex application. So what is Twilio Sendgrid? So this is stuff I just kind of captured right from their website. It's a cloud-based SMTP provider that allows you to send email without having to maintain email servers. It manages all technical details from scaling the infrastructure to ISP outreach and reputation monitoring to whitelist services and real-time analytics. So I thought it was interesting that they have 190,000 businesses that use their product, and it enables nearly 932 billion human interactions per year. It's pretty much industrial strength stuff. Okay, we use the MailSend API that I mentioned to interact with Sendgrid. Their product offers template creation, which is a process for administrators to create personalized email templates from scratch or to incorporate and leverage existing templates. So it really allows you to create very highly professional templates to send emails from. It uses webhooks, which is integrated into emails to signal the email status. So this thing is in real time is able to track whether or not it was successfully sent. Was it bounced, which means it did not receive the recipient? Was it opened, or did they click on a link? So within your email, you may have a hyperlink to your website or whatever, and if they click on that, it's able to track the status of that they clicked on it. Okay, another screenshot directly from their website. Here's some of the users that use Sendgrid. You probably recognize most of these: Uber, Booking.com, Yelp, Spotify, Intuit Mint, Airbnb, ZipRecruiter, and of course there's many more. They got 190,000 companies that are using their product. So let's kind of compare traditional email from your application and compare it to what you have using this Twilio Sendgrid technology. So on the top portion of the screen, you've got your application, which produces an email and it's sent to a customer. It's just kind of a one-way path, and you don't know whether or not it reached a customer. You don't know if they opened it, did they click on it. You just hope it reached them. And then in the example below is what this framework looks like when you're using this component, this Sendgrid technology. So you start with your application interacts with Sendgrid to create and send the email to your customers. For each of those emails, Sendgrid, using the webhook feature, is updating the status of those emails into your database in real time. So when the user opens it, it updates the status of that email message in your database as opened. So it's all happening in real time. It's pretty amazing. We'll look at it here in a few minutes. Here's a look at the basic architecture that makes up this component that CM First has built for us. As you can see, it's multi-tier and it's multi-language. There's Java, there's WinC involved in this. It's interacting with Twilio Sendgrid, which is a cloud-based application. And so part of the application, you're literally in the Sendgrid user interface from a browser, creating templates, doing all your setup, and then you take that information and enter it into your Plex application and connect it. We'll look at that in a few minutes here. But the application's running in the background and it's updating the status of your email messages and everything in real time. It's pretty amazing. So on the subject of templates, there's two types of templates that are available to us. They have what they call a dynamic template, and that is a template that is created inside of Sendgrid from their cloud application. And these are templates that you would want to be very highly professional in quality. You're going to typically have graphics, hyperlinks, really robust email messages that you're going to set up as dynamic templates. And you do this from within Sendgrid. And then once you've created it in Sendgrid, you go into the Plex application, you enter a kind of a definition, a description of what it is, and you basically copy and paste the template ID, which is created from Sendgrid. You copy and paste that template ID into your Plex application. And on the right, you can kind of see an example of that. So there's a dynamic template. Hello, Kiyoshi, weekly news from Eaglesun. So that's a hyperlink. So the user would click on that. It would basically take us to our website and this type of thing. It's got the unsubscribe down there. Just kind of a simple dynamic template that kind of illustrates the point here. And the other type of template that we have is static templates. So these are templates that are just simple templates. They're created from your Plex application, not from Sendgrid. Sendgrid has no real awareness of the template. And these are used for basic email purposes, plain text, no graphics, this type of thing. So it lacks some of the features that are available from the dynamic template that we create from Sendgrid. So there's times when a dynamic template is what you want, and there's times when you just want something simple, and that would be a static template. Okay, so if we look at a dynamic template, on the left is what the template looks like. Hi, first name. New case is opened by open_s_first, blah, 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 blah. So that's basically what the template looks like. And then when the email is produced, it merges the data from your database into the template, producing the email that you see on the right. Hi, Jane. I've kind of redacted some of the sensitive information, but that's basically what it looks like. So it's merging data from your database into the email, and this is happening for you automatically without you having to do any coding. Now let's look at a static template. So as I mentioned, the static template is created directly from your Plex application, not from Sendgrid. Okay, so basically you prepare the template for subject and content, and then you of course have your variable parameters that can be merged in. So hello, first name. Okay, so that's the templates. There's multiple pieces that make up this particular feature. One of the features is you have to have a way of querying your tables within your application to produce a list of the email recipients. And so depending on which module we're inside of within our application, we're going to have different filters. So these filters, they're custom, specific to each particular module within our application. And what they do is they allow the user to select the criteria that they want to select, build the recipient information from. So each of them, and we'll look at a couple of them here, have their own look and feel. And the user in this case is able to select one or more sites, which is the grid on the left, one or more case types, which is the grid second to the left, one or more caseworkers, or one or more caseworkers for open cases. And if they don't select anything, it means that it doesn't filter on that particular column at all. So it would select everything. So they're very dynamic and very powerful. The filters, what they actually are doing is they're creating dynamic SQL to query the database. So based on what the user selected, when they hit the Go Baby Go button, what it's really producing is this dynamic SQL to do the record selection. So select CIF number, case number, intake number, et cetera, from the family intake joined to the CIF table, et cetera, where case status is A for active or P for pending. So that's basically what it's doing. Here's a look at the user interface that the user is working with when they request that they want to send an email. So the grid on the right, in this case, there's no filtering. It's just, there's a list of, all of the, in this case, it's master staff, and I think they're kind of fictitious names here for purposes of showing this here. But basically what it is it's a list of all your master staff, so your employees basically. It's got the filter button here that a user can click on to filter the employees, and whatever the result set is displayed over here. So I can click one or more master staff or click select all, and whatever I do, it moves it over here into this grid on the left, and this is who the email is going to be sent to. And I can move them back by hitting the delete or delete all, which moves everything back over here. So I can kind of interact with this thing to kind of refine the list of recipients that I want to send it to. I can select a template here by double clicking or prompting, and it brings up a list of my templates, fills in the description, the subject. So this is a static template, so it's basically just simple text here. So greetings, first name, et cetera. I can control who the email is coming from. I can either type in a name and email address, or I can prompt from it to select from the master staff table. Same thing on the reply to. So once this information is filled out, I hit the green Go Baby Go button, and it sends the email to everyone that is in this list right here. Okay, I talked a little bit about parameters. So we're able to pass parameters into the template, and those parameters are going to be based on whichever module we're in. So if I'm in the master staff module, it's going to be a list of the fields that exist on the master staff table. If I'm in the TANF module, it's going to be a list of fields that exist on one of the TANF tables that's included in the join. And these parameters here, I'm able to literally highlight and copy and paste them from here. So this has given me a way of seeing the parameters that are available, and then highlighting parameters, hitting copy, and then going in and paste them, because the parameter might be pasted into Sendgrid. I might be over here in Sendgrid on another, I have another window open here of Sendgrid that I'm basically building the template from. So this is where I am providing the parameter information into the template. Okay, one of the most powerful features of this particular technology is the ability to track the status of each email message. So using this feature called webhooks, Sendgrid is able to track the status of each and every email message and dynamically update that status into your Plex application database all in real time. So here's some examples of the status values we have. So ready, click, process, blocked, drop, open, bounce, error, delivered, deferred, unknown, spam report. It's pretty comprehensive. So it really allows you to know, what happened to that email once it was sent. If it failed, if it was either blocked or bounced, they never got it. So, you can't just assume that just because you sent it, they received it. And the other one that's very powerful is to know whether or not they not only opened it, but did they click on a hyperlink. So within the email, it might take that user, to your website and take them into their account or whatever. And that they did that because it updates the status accordingly. Okay, so all email messages, they're saved within your Plex application database. That's really nice because it allows you to not only see historically everything that you've sent to your customers or vendors or whatever, but it allows you to actually view the content of that email from the Plex application. So when you're looking at the email from your Plex application, you're just looking at it in plain text. So you don't see, all of the HTML formatting and all this type of thing. It's really to allow you to see content, not necessarily, the graphics and this type of thing. So now you can, of course, as part of sending the email, you might want to send a copy of that email, to a designated email address, so you can literally go in, from your application, probably from Outlook, and see the actual email, including, the graphics and this type of thing. But typically, for our needs, we just need to be able to know, what did we send the customer? What is the content of that email message? Okay. So that's kind of a high-level discussion about the email feature. Now let's talk a little bit about the SMS text message feature that is also built into this that you can work with. So the SMS feature is very similar to what we have with the email, in that you can set up parameters, create templates that are static only, so they're not dynamic. You don't have the ability to include, graphics and this type of thing, pictures. That's really just kind of outside of the scope of what we're needing to do with simple text messaging. It also updates the status of the text messages, so whether or not it was delivered to the recipient. And of course, we use the same user interfaces in order to query, who that text message is going to go to, and this type of thing. So it has basically the same look and feel and functionality. The difference is a text message is produced instead of an email. And as I mentioned, the text messaging feature does not accommodate for dynamic templates where you have graphics and HTML, etc. So here's just kind of a look at a text message that was produced from the application and sent. So in this case, there's just a simple content. Register now for the CA2E SYNON and CA Plex March 31st community. So that's the message. It went to 3 people. It was delivered to 2 of those, and the third one it was not. And there is a screenshot of the text message that I received on my phone, and there you can see it also includes a hyperlink. So if I click on that, it takes me to that site. This particular screenshot was done using a trial account. That's why it says sent from your Twilio trial account. once you're using an actual licensed account, then it would reflect that information accordingly. It would not say it came from Twilio trial account. So that's kind of a high level look at this thing. My intention is that when we have the user conference later this year, that there would be a 1-hour session that would really show this, and it'd be a live demo. So for purposes of time, we didn't have time to do this presentation and a live demo, so you'll just have to make sure you join the session at the conference. So now that we have this framework and it's built into our Plex application, we now have a comprehensive email and SMS solution that we're going to integrate into more of our modules. Right now, it's integrated into a couple of our modules. We have many modules, and we will continue to integrate it into many more of these modules. For each module that we implement it in, we basically have to create filters that allow the user to kind of define their queries of, who the recipients are. And then this thing will just be a feature, an add-on feature that's going to be part of our application that will be available to everyone who has our application. They'll purchase this feature and activate it and start using it. So it's pretty interesting. I hope you got something out of that. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back to Mark.
Hey, thank you very much, Roger. We have a poll question based on Roger's presentation. Are you interested in this SMS email technology to be made available? So Roger got some poll there with the user community about getting a session scheduled for the fall conference. So which one's more interesting or more compelling to you? The email, the short message system, both, or perhaps you're not sure about which one is going to work best for you? And I believe we could get this solution to work on TUI as well too. I think that's possible also. So TUI people, don't be shy about coming. We have implemented on Plex, but our technical team has said that it's possible to work this kind of technology into TUI also. And just another example of something that was never thought of, contemplated when these applications are built, but the world in the 21st century demands them. And can we see the results, please? And I think probably not really we're surprised there. I think want to be able to do both, and a few more people just with email, but and then perhaps other you are not sure about whether whether this would be accurate or not. I can tell you the conversations with our kind of customers that have a lot of end users or have a lot of stores or locations. This kind of communication technique is they're really investigating seriously because it just enables you to broadcast email or SMS out very efficiently. At this point, we got Russell Berkeley coming up. He's a system analyst at ICS Courier, and Russ is going to get wild and crazy with your TUI display files and AutoFresh using the Preprocessor, as well as a multicolor display file. So start educating us, Russell.
Thanks, Roger. That was a pretty cool presentation. I know from my experience with email, I actually monitor my subsystems for message waits, and we'll send a text message to whoever's on call that week using my own version of a SMS messaging. So anyway, does everyone see this screen? Think outside the box?
Loud and clear, looks great.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. So one thing I'll just mention, this is going to be a lightning talk, so because I only have 20 minutes and I got a lot of stuff to cover. The handouts aren't really going to help you guys a lot with this presentation because my presentations tend to be more video captures. So it's not a live demonstration because I want to make sure things work, but it's not a PowerPoint slide by slide presentation. Okay, so we're going to start with, and also this presentation has everything that I discussed in October And basically what I'm doing is just adding blocks for different topics. So this is going to become an all-encompassing SYNON 2E tips and tricks presentation when it's as it goes. So it's totally evolving all the time. So let's jump in. Let's do the auto refresh and see what's going on with that. So I'm just going to pause this video for a sec. As I said, handouts aren't that great, but if you were to take your iPhone and just scan this code, it'll take you to my Google Drive where I've put this presentation with all the videos from all the other topics on this presentation, all there for you in a zip file for you to just download and work with. If you have any problems, issues, concerns, here's my email address down here. So just take a note of that. I'd love to hear from my fellow 2E family colleagues. So that's this screen. So what I'm going to do is just explain this video a little bit. I'm going to have my 2E up here. I'm going to have my runtime here. And because this is an auto refresh, what I'm trying to show, to give you an example, is up here is just my production running. I have that in a different color. You can see there's one record in here, which I'm going to deal with quickly. And then you'll see that what we basically do to put this into real world is I'll have our customer service people put this up here, production menu up in the corner. And with the auto refresh, every 90 seconds, it'll refresh the screen and it will show them if there's anything that needs to be actioned. This way, they don't have to go into a display file every half hour, every 30 minutes to see if things need to be addressed. It just shows up here, and then they'll go to another screen where they'll action it. They could do it there as well, but it just allows them to have two screens running and see stuff in real time and work with it. Okay, so I'll start the video and I'll talk over the video. That's my production, so I'm just gonna clear it off. Here's my runtime and then my display of my runtime with my display file. There's the display file with some records in it. So let's go to 2E. And first off, I'm gonna look at the source that gets generated by 2E. So I'm gonna scan this display file for Y2W. As you can see, it does not exist. So this is how you make it an auto refresh. It's a little undocumented feature, I think, in 2E. I'm going to go to the display file and I'm going to change the wait record and put in a value. For this case, I'll put in 5 seconds just to show you. You can change it to any number of seconds you want. Now when I scan, the code that gets generated is completely different. There's this loop in here where it's going to wait for 5 seconds, and then it's going to call this program Y2WSTOC, and then it's going to loop again. So let's build that, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so let's run it over here. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. So this is what comes up. This is what SYNON, the programmers decided to do when an auto refresh happens, is it calls Y2WSTOC and Y2sys. And that's all it does. Totally useless, right? So this is what I suggest you do. First, we do a retrieve CL source of that program in Y2sys and throw it into my QCL source genlib. So let's go to my genlib QCL source. Let's see what this thing does. Let's get rid of these comments, don't need it. And then I get rid of all this. So that's what it does. It basically goes in and out. And because that's in my genlib or in your production runtime library, now when I run this program, I'm just going to run it, but I'm going to run it in debug mode. I'm going to scan to the Y2 here and just put a breakpoint and then run. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, it hit this breakpoint. It calls this program, which is now just going to go in and out. It's going to set this to 1331, and then it's going to loop, and it's going to stay in this mode. So it's not auto refreshing yet. All it's doing is looping, okay? And I'm eliminating that Y2 call. What I really want to do is look at, I want to look at these comments here. See where it says force, put over, suppress. That comment, what I want to do is change that code. Yes, I'm going to go in and change the 2E code and put a leave statement in there. So I'm breaking every rule known to man. I'm going to change this to a leave. And I'm going to recompile that outside of 2E. And now I'm going to run the job. So watch the time up here. As I take my hands off the keyboard, notice that every 5 seconds, the time changes. This is how I know it's auto refreshing. So let me show you a little more on that. Let me go here. I'm going to call an edit file over here, and I'm just going to make a change. I'm going to change this to Russell, and watch what happens on the right-hand side when I hit enter. See, change to Russell. Bill, I'm going to make it Bill Gates. This is not his address. Don't go there, bug Bill. I'm going to delete all these records in my edit file, and you'll see on the right, they'll all get deleted without me touching it, touching the display file. And then let me put them back. Let me put some of them back. There you go. So it's just showing you that it is truly auto refreshing. In this case, every 5 seconds. Now, once you've implemented this and put it into production, you can use change display file and change that interval from 5 seconds to 90 seconds or whatever you really want. You know, once it's implemented, you can basically go hog wild on this. But this just shows you how to do it. Here you can see on the production side, I've got some tasks up there on the top right that need to be attentioned. And that just shows you how the auto refresh works in production. Okay, now to get rid of that changing the code on the fly, I'm going to show you what's called a preprocessor. I'm not going to go into too much detail just because of time, but basically I created execute user source of a CL program. The CL program looks like this. Basically, it's gonna run through the preprocessor. It's gonna check the job, which is the job name of the compile, and it's gonna do a Y scan replace. I'm gonna scan and replace this with the command leave, which is what I did manually. But now I've done it by creating a CL program. So I'll gen and build that, and that'll be used for whenever I need to do this in a display file. Then I'm going to create some user source. So it says RPG user source, and it basically is one line of code. It's Y asterisk, and then I call that program I just created, X refresh. Okay, so let's go into my display file now. And at the initialize, what I'm going to do is just add that user source. Let's just see, Y asterisk user source. Let's gen and build. Actually, no, let's gen it first. So I'm not submitting it to compile. Let's look at the source. And you can see there's that Y2 at the top. And then here you can see at gen time, it did not change the source. It did not call this program. This program only gets called by the preprocessor through the Y2 gen using the job description of the routing data, if you really wanted to get technical. But once it's gen and built, let me build it. what happens now, because it ran through YGen source, it ran the preprocessor, and you can see it changed the code automatically to a leave. So I would say when you're testing this, you change it manually. Once you get that working, you put in this user source and you never have to worry about it again. So that's how you do a display refresh. And as you can see, I just cleared the production off there.
Hey, Russ, we're running a little bit short on time, so can we do the last demo?
Yep. Okay.
A couple of minutes. Great.
So I got 48, I got 12 minutes left, I think. Let's see if we can get through this one. Okay, multicolors.
Oh, there's not 12 minutes left because we do not have time for Q&A. So
Okay.
we get a lot of questions being queued up. So
here's my multi-display. Okay, so this is how I accomplish this. I'm going to speed this up a bit just to pass through the demos. So I go and I got to create a bunch of user source, basically sets of user source. So we'll start with the first set. And this is going to be a DDS user source. The DDS user source basically looks like this. It has display attribute here and my own CO color field 1. Okay. Let's look at the next user source. I'll come back to that one. The second user source will have the same display attribute, and it'll also have a definition of the field. Okay, so that's the 2 user sources. I'm just going to jump through this because you guys will be able to download this video. The third one is user source that tells me what to do with the color. So based on an if condition, I'm going to pass in a value, and that value is going to change to a hex value, in this case x20, that gets passed into the display attribute. Okay, let me just jump now. So that's a color text. Let's get into the action diagram. So under customer name, I'm going to do a shift. I'm going to remove all these attributes within the display file for that field. And then I'm going to do an F24, F11. And here I'm going to add that one field attribute, sorry, display source. Not used to going this fast on my presentations. So I'm going to use the first, which will be the one that has the field attribute and the definition. So here's the display attribute and the definition of the field. Okay. And I do the exact same thing on the address, but I'm going to, instead of putting in the field attribute and the definition, I'm going to use the second source, which only has the display attribute, because you only want to define it once. Okay, so it's display attribute. Now I'm going to fast forward because with the customer number, I do the exact same thing, but I'm going to use a different one. I'm going to use my multi-2 because I want it for a different condition to do a different color. Okay, so I'm using field attribute 2. In my action diagram, okay, so basically I'm just loading a color, right? And then I'm calling the source here, which says based on the color I send in, display that color. Okay, so here's my source. It says, depending on the input of 3C, for example, send the hex value of 3C, which is a different color. I'm gonna speed this up just to get through this. So that's what happens here. I do have a spreadsheet where I put in the hex values of different colors and attributes that you can use. So that's available on the download as well. But basically, if I put in 3C here, I can make it all 3C. This is the colors here, color codes, and the color codes for the hex. Tells me what I'm doing with it. And I think I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that's enough to get you guys to think. And again, you've got my email, so if this was a little too fast, if you have a problem downloading the zip file, I'd love to hear from you. In the presentation, there's the source, this, that, and yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Great job, Russell. Thank you.
Sorry for the speed,
So
guys.
right another question here about did you what did you like about this session, and did you feel that it was helpful to you? So either you learned a lot, or you learned a little, or you already knew that, or you don't use TUI. And we have some polite Plex people on here as well too. So yeah. Oh, that's great. So 55% learned a lot, Russell, and you'll probably be downloading that. As you can tell, attendees, we've got two other handouts that are over there on the can be downloaded by attendees. And at this point, I'm going to go right into questions. Roger Griffith, does your integration work with WhatsApp?
You know, I was looking at the website for Sendgrid, and they list WhatsApp as one of the technologies that they do integrate with. So we don't use it yet, but my understanding is that okay, the capability is there.
Great. Hey, Russell, do these tips apply to every release of TUI? Because this customer's on a really old version of TUI.
Yeah, what I could say about that is all of the stuff that I have presented, I've gleaned off of my SYNON TUI presentation that I did in 1993. So the display file was part of that presentation, as well as the ones that I've done at the conference. The only one I'm not certain of is the multicolor, because I use the action diagram DDS insert source for that. I don't know what version that got put into TUI. I'm on 8.7 right now.
Okay, great. Roger, what do you think the pricing for the conference tickets will be?
It's too early to know. I would say that's probably going to be similar to what we've always done in the past, but whatever it is, I can assure you it will be very affordable.
Right. Another question for you, Roger. Can SMS recipients respond to a text for automatic processing? In other words, type 1 to confirm your appointment.
You know, I'm going to have Kiyoshi field that one, because he's the actual developer that worked on this down at a very, very low level. So Kiyoshi, are you there? Can you answer that one?
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, there's capability to respond to the, to the SMS you send through the API. Not sure how clever it, AI integrated, etc. But there's a capability to send.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
Great. Also, curious, while I have you, do you have a problem? Is there a problem with someone being flagged as a spammer, when you're broadcasting this kind of a solution out?
Can you repeat that again?
If a chance that the sender could be flagged as a spammer for broadcasting this kind of email information.
Yeah, there's a trusty level, of course, exists from the sender as well. You cannot use like anonymous email to send. So when you create the account with the Sendgrid, you cover around the trustee, and then you prove who you are, etc. And most likely that solves that issue. But yeah, we not hit that yet. But there probably group, lots of users, as Roger mentioned, using this. So there should be the covered.
Okay.
By then, yeah.
Another question to follow on. Hey, is there a limit for the number of emails that can be sent via the API?
Okay, there's a limit 1,000 per request, but we kind of split into the 1,000 unit to, I mean, like if you, the Plex side request 3,000, we just call 3 times the message API. So just the grouping per 1,000. So that's the limit.
Okay.
I don't see the SMS side limit yet, but there probably limit exists. But you can imagine the amount you need to send for the SMS is very smaller than compared with the email. So that's probably more large number you can send. But surely we are grouping to match the limit. Yep.
Hey, Roger, can you discuss the cost for Sendgrid and the transactional level?
I can. I'm actually gonna defer that to Kiyoshi because he's the one who's been involved in all the setup of the the account and all that type of thing. He's more knowledgeable about the fees and this type of thing. Kiyoshi?
Okay, I'm not exact, but very tiny. That's what I said, because otherwise you cannot use this kind of service. I mean, they have massive customer, so each transaction is like less than penny, I believe, but we need to confirm. Yep, but it's not.
The Twilio Sendgrid website has a lot of information, and I would encourage anyone who's interested in this to go out to that website and look at that information. I think anything you want to know about Twilio Sendgrid, you can access it from the website.
Yeah, we'll be following up people who have been on the call here too, and which leads us to our last poll question, which people see the mid question basically. Want to meet. I would like to meet with more details, kind of like that question on the Sendgrid pricing and cost structure. I means I can introduce you to someone who's interested in this, in my organization. N means put me on the newsletter. But a lot of you might already be on it, but let's we'll make sure that you're put on there as well too. And then T means that there's another group that we should be talking about for these sorts of topics. And I'll lay down the gauntlet on the 2E people. Let's have a 2E type presentation like this at the conference as well too on messaging.
Big mission.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and in terms of the number of attendees, I believe at one point we had 80 attendees on the call, which is right up there with the top. Had a big number of people, and I know from some of the time zones it was going to be the middle of the night for them, and people in the Western Pacific and New Zealand and Australia, so in Japan and so forth. So I don't expect them to be on here, but everybody will get a recording of the conference. We'll edit the webinar and then send that out shortly. And as we said, we've got handouts for you right now, and we'll be sending out follow-on information for you too as well. And some of the people who registered and didn't attend, they'll get the same kind of thing. They'll get access to the recording. So I want to thank our speakers today, both Roger and Russell. And hey, everybody, stay healthy out there, and we'll see you the next time around. Thank you very much. Have a great day.